Hello students, in this session we will be covering another topic, that is dishonor of a bill. Now, what is meant by dishonoring of a bill? Let us see. When the acceptor of the bill refuses to pay, suppose there is Mr. X and Mr. Y. X sold goods to Y on credit. Okay, then X, what he will do is that he will draw up a bill and then he will send it to the Y. Then Y, he accepted that bill and sent it back to Mr. X. But after accepting and sending it back to Mr. X, if by chance Y refuses to pay the amount of the bill on the date of maturity, or if he becomes insolvent, means he become bankrupt and he's not able to pay the money, then it is called as dishonor of the bill. Now in that case, what we will do is that the holder, that is our Mr. X, he can recover the amount of the bill from any of the endorsers or the drawer. Okay, now for this purpose, the holder of the bill must serve a notice of dishonor to the drawer. Okay, and each prior endorser whom he seeks to make liable for payment. Now here we are talking about holder. It doesn't matter whether X is the holder. If he, suppose he endorsed it to Mr. Z, okay, now he is not a holder of that bill, he gave that to Mr. Z and somehow Y became insolvent. So Z, since he is suffering loss, he is not receiving any money, what he can do is that he can recover it from Mr. X. Okay, for that what he can do is that he have to give a notice of dishonor to the drawer and each prior endorser. If there are any endorsers, 2 or 3 endorsers if there are, then he have to give notice to them also, from whom he wants to take the payment. Okay, such notice must be served immediately after dishonor or within a reasonable time. Okay, it's not like that today he heard that his bill got dishonored, then he waited for like 1 or 2 years thinking that he will serve notice after few time. That cannot happen. Okay, he have to do that immediately or within a reasonable time. If this is not done, the holder of the bill loses the right to recover the amount from the party to whom such notice is not served, because until unless he doesn't serve notice immediately, he cannot claim after 2 or 3 months asking that he wants his money. Okay, he cannot do that. Now there is another term that you have to understand is noting charges. Now let us see what is meant by noting charges. To establish the fact that the bill was properly presented and dishonored, that means in let's take this example, to show that Mr. Z genuinely and in full faith he presented that bill to Mr. Y. Okay, and after that only Mr. Y is denied of making the payment, then what will happen is that that bill is usually handed over to a person called notary public. Now after genuinely presenting it to Y, after he got rejection or denial from Mr. Y about payment, then what he can do is that Mr. Z can take that bill to a person who is known as notary public. Okay, that person is appointed by the court. Okay, the notary public again presents the dishonored bill to the acceptor for payment. Means suppose our case, let's take Mr. A is the notary public. Okay, Z, he gave that bill to Mr. A saying that Y has not made the payment and my bill got dishonored. Okay, now A, after taking that bill, what he will do is that he will again take that bill to Mr. Y asking for payment. Okay, and after doing that, if the acceptor still refuses to make the payment, the notary public notes down the fact of dishonor on the bill itself. Now after getting denial from Y again, A will write down the dishonor fact on the bill again. Okay, such act of notary public is called noting. Now that process is known as noting, means noting of dishonor on the bill by notary public. Okay, then the notary public charges a small fee for the services rendered by him. Now A, for providing his service, he will charge a small amount of fee, and that fee is known as noting charges. Okay, such charges are paid to the notary public first by the holder of the bill. Means at the starting, Mr. Z will make the payment of that notary charges to A, but are ultimately recovered from the acceptor. Means suppose if Z paid 50 rupees to A as noting charges, then first he will pay that charge. Okay, then later when he will recover money from Mr. Y, he will take that extra 50 of noting charges as well. Okay, because he is the person responsible for the dishonor, because Y is the main person who is responsible for dishonor of the bill. Okay, now let us see what will be the journal transactions in case of dishonor of bill. Following entries are passed for the dishonor of the bill in case the bill is held by the drawer himself till the maturity date. Means here we are talking about only two persons, that is X and Y. Okay, now when Y, the acceptor of the bill, dishonors the bill on the due date. Okay, now for making sale, for selling goods and for receiving the acceptance, there will be journal transactions. Okay, now after that we are talking about when the acceptor, that is Mr. Y, dishonors the bill on due date, there will be a journal transaction in both X and Y's book. Now let us see. In book of X, the journal entry will be Y debit to bill receivable. So in this one, narration, you can write bill dishonored or cancelled. Okay, then in book of Y, the journal entry will be bills payable account debit to X, saying that bill dishonored or cancelled. Okay, then after that, when X he goes to a notary public and pays noting charges, that time what he will do is that he will debit Y's account to cash account, because ultimately he is going to charge that noting charges from Mr. Y. Okay, then in the book of Y, we will make entry as noting charges account debit to X, because Y, he will have to pay noting charges to X ultimately. Okay, then at the last, when a compound entry is passed for the two entries. Okay, now either you can pass two different entries in both parties' book, or you can just simply pass one compound entry, means one combined entry for these two transactions, and that is Y account will be debited, since we can see in the above two transactions, in both the transaction Y's account was debited, so we will write Y debit to bill receivable to cash account in here. Okay, in the similar manner, X's account was credited in both the transactions, so in here also X account will be credited, and bills payable account and noting charges account will be debited. So it's better to use this transaction or this compound entry instead of using these two. Whichever you feel comfortable, you can use. Okay, now let us see the illustration. Okay, on 1st January 2020, X sold goods to Y for 20,000 less 2% cash discount. That means there is a cash discount also, so let us pass that journal entry first. So in the book of X, we will write Y to sales account rupees 20,000. X sold goods to Y for 20,000 less 2% cash discount. Then next they said that Y paid 50% price immediately and X drew a bill on Y. Now let us see that 50% payment. Okay, Y paid 50% price immediately. We know that cash discount will be paid only, cash discount will be allowed only when cash payment is made, and cash discount will be given only on the amount of cash payment. So 50% of this 20,000 is 10,000. That means 10,000 was paid and 2% cash discount was given on that 10,000. Okay, so on 1st January again we will pass one journal entry, that is cash account debit, because our X is the receiver of cash. Okay, then he is the one who is allowing discount, so discount allowed account will be debited to Y, he is the giver. Okay, now 2% of 10,000 is 200, so 200 is the cash discount, then 10,000 is the 50% of 20,000, and the difference is 9,800. In the similar manner in book of Y also there will be entry as X debit to cash account to discount received account 10,000, 9,800 and 200. Then next let us see, and X drew a bill on Y for 2 months. Now 10,000 is already made, means already paid. The remaining 10,000, for that X he drew a bill on Y for 2 months for the balance, that is 10,000. This bill is duly accepted by Y, so for acceptance we have to make journal entry in both the books. Okay, so on January 1 only, bill receivable account debit to Y rupees 10,000. In the similar manner in the book of Y, X debit to bills payable rupees 10,000. Okay, now next let us see, the bill was dishonored on due date. Now what will be our due date? From 1st January count 2 months, 1st February, 1st March, then add 3 days of grace, so 2nd March, 3rd March, 4th March. 4th March will be our due date. So we saw that on 4th March it got dishonored. Okay, and X he had to pay 100 as noting charges. So for in here in this table you can see that for dishonor and for paying noting charges we can use these two these two compound entries. Now let us see in book of drawer, that is X. Okay, in here we will pass entry for dishonor as well as paying noting charges. Y debit to bill receivable account to cash account. Now bill receivable was for rupees 10,000 and in question they said that he had to pay 100 as noting charges, so 100 will be the noting charges, and altogether now Y he have to pay 10,100 to Mr. X. Okay, in a similar manner in the book of Y we will write bills payable account on March 4th. Okay, on due date. Remember that for dishonoring and noting charges we are making this compound entry, bill payable account debit, noting charges account debit to X. Now you can understand in this manner, think from Y's point of view. Bills payable he have to pay 10,000, then again he have to pay noting charges of rupees 100 to whom? To Mr. X. So X accounts was credited. Okay, 10,000 is for bills payable, 100 is for noting charges, and altogether he have to pay now 10,100 to Mr. X. Okay, now let us see next what they said, that Y paid the amount due to X by check after 10 days. That means after 10 days means March 4 plus 10, that is March 14. He made the payment by check. Okay, so if he made the payment by check, that means X will receive money in his bank account. So bank account will be debited, and who is the payer? Y. Altogether amount is 10,100. Remember 10,000 is for the bill amount and 100 is for noting charges. In a similar manner Y, since he is the payer, so X account will be debited and bank account will be credited, because since he is making the payment by check his bank account will be credited. If he had made the payment in cash then we would have credited cash account. Okay, so remember that 10,100. So this is how you are supposed to deal with dishonoring of checks. Dishonoring of bill. Okay, now let us see the second case. Okay, now in this case the bill was discounted from the bank and after that it got dishonored. Now in discounting what we do is that we give the bill to bank and we receive money. Now bank, they used to keep the bill till maturity date, and on maturity date they used to take money from the acceptor. But what happens is that bank on the date of maturity they find that acceptor has become insolvent and the bill got dishonored. So what we will do in that case, let us see. In such a case, the noting charges will be paid by the bank, since bank are the holder of that bill, so they will be the one paying noting charges to notary public. Okay, the bank will recover the noting charges from the person who discounted the bill from the bank. Means suppose if X is the if X is the person who discounted bill from the bank, then the bank initially they will pay noting charges, but later they will recover it from Mr. X, because X is the one who discounted the bill. Okay, and ultimately the noting charges will be borne by the acceptor. Now after paying noting charges by X to bank, he will again recover it from the acceptor. Okay, now let us see what will be the journal transactions. In the journal of X, that is our drawer, first transaction will be Y debit to bank account. Now this amount will be amount of the bill including noting charges. We have to add noting charges as well. In case of the book of Y, that is our drawee, the transaction will be bills payable account, noting charges account to X. Okay, similar in our previous case that we have seen. Now let us see an illustration. A sells goods for rupees 40,000 to B on 1st January 2007, and on the same day draws a bill on B at 3 months for the amount. So first we have to make entry for this sale of goods. Now let us see, in the book of A, January 1st, B debit to sales rupees 40,000. In the similar manner, in the book of B, purchases account debit to A 40,000. Okay, now they say that on the same date a bill was drawn on B for 3 months. So for B accepts it and returns it to A. So for that we have to pass entry. So January 1, bills receivable account to B 40,000. In the similar manner, in the book of B, A debit to bills payable account rupees 40,000. Then next, now A, who discounts it on 4th January 2017 with his bank at the premium of at 6% per annum. Now this 6% is discounting charges. Okay, remember the transaction took place on 1st January, but he discounted it on 4th January. So next entry will be on 4th January in the book of A only. Okay, now if you remember, the journal entry for discounting the bill was bank account debit, discounting charges account debit to bills receivable account. Okay, now bill receivable, the value of that bill receivable was 40,000 as we know. Now let us see the discounting charges. They said that it is for 6% per annum. Now when you see the 3 months, okay, he didn't wait for 3 months, he just discounted it. So we have to assume that still 3 months are left. Okay, because after 1 or 2 days only he discounted that bill, so still 3 months is left. So we will write 3 by 12, then 6% is the rate of discount, then 40,000 is the actual amount of bill. So we got the, after calculating, we got 600 as discounting charges. So after deducting this 600, he got 39,400 from bank. Okay, for discounting of this bill there will be no entry in the book of B. Okay, remember that. Then next day what they said is that the acceptance is dishonored on the due date. Okay, now for dishonoring and for payment of this noting charges we have to make entry. Now when we calculate this due date, 3 months from January will be 1st February, 1st March, 1st April, then add 3 days of grace, that will be 2nd April, 3rd April and 4th April. That means due date is 4th April. So on 4th April, since we know that bank is the one paying that noting charges initially, but ultimately they will recover it from Mr. A. Okay, then again Mr. A will recover it from B. So for that recovering of noting charges, he will write B debit to bank account. Okay, rupees 40,200. Okay, then in the book of B, for dishonoring and paying of noting charges account entry will be bills payable account debit, noting charges account debit to A. Rupees 40,000 is for the bills payable amount and noting charges given is rupees 200. So altogether 40,200. Sorry, he has to pay 40,200 to Mr. A. Okay, now let us see the next information. On 4th April 2017, B accepts a new bill at 3 months for the amount then due to A together with interest at 12% per annum. That means on 4th April itself, that is on the due date, B, he again accepts a new bill that is drawn by Mr. A in place of that old bill, okay, and he accepts it for again 3 months at the rate of 12% per annum. So again here for calculating interest, B account will be debited then to interest account. So the now A has to recover 40,200 from him. Okay, then we saw that interest rate was 12 by 100 and that was drawn for again 3%. Okay, 3 months. So altogether we got interest amount of rupees 1,206. Okay, that was the interest charged by A to B for dishonoring the check. Dishonoring the bill. Sorry. Okay, then again he drew a new bill of and B accepted it and sent it back to Mr. A. So for receiving that acceptance is account accepting that new bill by Mr. B, he sent it to A, and after receiving that, Mr. A will pass a journal entry that is bill receivable account debit to B. Okay, now earlier we saw that old value of that bill became 40,200, then add this interest as well. So altogether we got 41,416. Now Mr. B have to pay 41,406 to Mr. A. Okay, then in the book of B, again for paying that interest, that is interest account debit to A, rupees 1,260. Then at last he sent acceptance to Mr. A after accepting that new bill, and that new bill's value was 41,406. So for that journal entry will be A account debit to bills payable rupees 41,406. So this is little bit confusing, means in this question you saw that first the bill got dishonored through bank, then a new bill was drawn. Okay, since drawing or making a new bill is not included in your syllabus, but still if you can understand this question then it is good. Okay, it will be helpful in future. Now let us see the next topic, that is when the bill endorsed to a third party is dishonored. Okay, means we dishonored a bill to someone else, to a third party, and it got dishonored. So in that case what can we do? Okay, now let us see. In such a case, the noting charges must have been paid by the endorsee, means the person to whom we endorse that check, endorse that bill. Okay, sorry, I always get confused between check and bill. Okay, so the person to whom we have endorsed that bill will be the one who will pay noting charges at first. Okay, then he will recover that noting charges from the endorser, that is from me. Suppose I endorsed my bill to someone else. Okay, then he paid noting charges at first, then he will recover it from me, and ultimately I will recover it from the acceptor. Okay, now let us see the journal entries for that. Since we know that endorsement of bill includes at least three parties, okay, they will not ask more than this. They will only ask question related with three parties. Okay, so don't get nervous. Now let us see what will be the journal entry. Suppose a bill which was received by X from Y and was subsequently endorsed to Z. That means here, okay, let me take example then. Suppose a bill which was received by X from Y. That means there are three parties, X, Y and Z. Okay, now X, he received an acceptance from Y. Okay, then he endorsed it to Mr. Z, then it got dishonored. So in that case what in the book of X, okay, what will be the entry? Y debit, and that amount will include amount of the bill as well as noting charges, and Z's account will be credited. In the book of Y, means journal entry will be bills payable account debit, noting charges account debit to X. And in book of Z, entry will be bill receivable account debit to cash account, X account debit to bill receivable account to cash account. Okay, since he endorsee, our Mr. Z, paid the noting charges in cash, we credited cash account. If he would have paid noting charges via check, then we would have created bank account. Okay, now see, it may be noted that in case of dishonor of a bill, the drawer always debits the acceptor's account. Okay, the drawer, that is our Mr. X, he will always debit acceptor's account, that is Mr. Y's account, because ultimately Mr. Y is the one who will pay the money. Okay, that is why he used to debit acceptor's account, and he always credits bill receivable account if he himself possessed the bill. Okay, or credits the bank's account if he discounted it with the bank, or credits the endorsee's account if he endorsed the bill. Suppose in this situation you saw that our drawer, he credited Z's account because he endorsed it to Z. If he would have kept that bill with himself till the date of maturity, then he would have credited bill receivable account. Okay, and if he would have discounted the bill with bank, then he would have credited bank's account. So depending upon the situation, you have to credit the accounts. Okay, now in case of dishonor of a bill, the acceptor always prepares the same entry. Now acceptor is nothing but our Y, Mr. Y. Okay, he will pass same journal entry every time, whether it is discounting of bill, whether it's endorsement of the bill, it doesn't matter. For acceptor or for drawee, the journal entry will be always same. Okay, now let us see one illustration. Y purchased goods for 60,000 plus there is CGST and SGST at 9% each on 1st June 2018. Now first let us make entry for this purchase of goods transaction. Okay, now in here we have three parties, X, Y and Z. X, Y and Z. So we have to make three journal books for three parties. Okay, now first this sale and purchase is taking place between X and Y. So for this purchase and sale, there will be entry in the book of X and Y only. Now let us see, in the book of X, the entry will be Y account debit to sales account to output CGST to output SGST. Now I'm not going in detail about this output GST and SGST, as we have already covered it in journal chapter. Okay, so be careful. So let us see, they said that 60,000 is the value of sales, then there is 9% CGST, that is 9 6 54, that is 5,400 each, so altogether the value is 70,800. Then in the book of Y, there will be purchases account debit, input CGST account debit, input SGST account debit to X, 60,000, 55,400, 5,400, 70,800. Now let us see the next. And on the same date accepted a bill payable after 3 months, that means Y accepted the bill. So in the book of X, after receiving that acceptance from Y, the entry will be bill receivable account debit to Y and the value will be 70,800. And in the similar manner in the book of Y, X debit to bills payable account 70,800. Then next we have 3 days later X endorsed the bill to Z. Okay, now this sentence particularly involves two parties only, X and Z. So we will have journal entry in book of X and Z only. So after 3 days, that means after 3 days from June 1, that is June 4th, Z is the one who is receiving the bill to bills receivable account 70,800, and in the book of Z on June 4, bills receivable account to X rupees 70,800. Okay, then next let us see On maturity, now let us calculate the maturity date. From 1st June, count 3 months. 1st July, 1st August, 1st September. Add 3 days, that is 2nd September, 3rd September, 4th September. Now we got 4th September as our maturity date. Okay, so on that day bill was dishonored for non-payment and Z had to pay 200 as noting charges. So for dishonor there will be entry in all the parties. Okay, now first let us see in the book of X, that is our acceptor. So on September 4, Y account will be debited because ultimately he will recover this amount from Y, and Z's account will be credited because Z is the one who is paying that amount, who will be receiving the money. Okay, then amount was 70,800, but they said that 200 noting charges were there, so 71,000 will be the amount. Okay, now remember in book of X, Y's account was debited because ultimately X will recover money from Y, and the Z's account is credited because ultimately Z will be the receiver, means he have to make payment to the Z. Okay, that is why we wrote Z in the credit part. Then in the book of Y, entry will be same for dishonor all the time, no matter whatever the case is. Okay, remember that. September 4, bills payable account debit, noting charges account debit to X. Bills payable was 70,800, then noting charges 200, and altogether now Y have to pay 71,000 to X. Okay, then next let us see in the book of Z. Okay, sorry, I forgot that there was Mr. Z also. So on September 4, X account debit to bills receivable account to bank account, means bill receivable was 70,800, then 200 for noting charges, then altogether now he have to receive 71,000 from Mr. X. Okay, then let us see the question. Now till here we have completed dishonoring and noting charges transaction. Okay, now let's see 3 days after the dishonor of the bill, that means 3 days after September 4, that is September 5, September 6, September 7. On 7th September, dishonor of the bill, X made full payment to Z. Full payment means 71,000. Okay, not 70,800. So for that let us make entry. September 7, Z, he made the payment, and since they haven't mentioned whether the payment was made by check or made by cash, so we will assume that the payment was made through check. Okay, to bank account. In here it should be payment made to Z. Okay, to bank account rupees 71,000. Since this transaction doesn't involve Mr. Y, so there will be no transaction in the book of Y. Then in the book of Z we will write bank account debit to X because he received in the bank, he received from X rupees 71,000. Okay, then next let us see the transaction is finished. Entry for that also finished. 15 days after, that means 15 days after September 7. Okay, I hope it's 7. Yes, after 7 September, 15 days after that, that is September 19. What happened? Let us see. The dishonor of the bill, Y paid 20,000 to X and requested him to draw a new bill for the balance plus 900 for the amount of interest, means Y paid 20,000 to X. Now let us make entry for this. So on September 19, made payment, he received in bank account debit to Y 20,000. Since Y made the payment, there will be entry in Y's book also. X account debit to bank account rupees 20,000. Okay, then again he requested again to draw a new bill after paying 900 as amount of interest. So for that also there will be entry in the book of X. He received, sorry, in the book of X. Okay, Y he charged 900 as interest to interest account. Okay, 900. Then In the book of Y also there will be entry interest account debit to X, interest payable rupees 900. Then let us see what happened. Payable after 2 months. Okay, X accepted the proposal and he drew the bill on Y. That means he made a new bill and it was accepted by Y and was duly met on maturity. Now let us see what for accepting that bill. Okay, there will be entry in both X and Y's book. So for making a new bill, or in another word you can say accepting that new acceptance, there will be entry as bills receivable account debit to Y rupees 51,900. Why 51,900? You can see okay, earlier the value of that bill was 60,000. So 71,000 was the amount payable. Okay, then he paid 20,000. When you deduct this 20,000 from 71,000, you will get 51,000 plus. That means 51,000 still Y have to pay to Mr. X, and on top of that he is now have to pay 900 as interest for for making him draw a new bill. So that means 51,900 will be the new amount of that new bill. Okay, so 51,900. Then again Y sent that acceptance, so X account debit to bills payable account 51,900. Okay, and they said that at the last part of your question they said the bill was met on maturity. Now you have to again start counting maturity of 2 months. Now instead of searching in your question, you can just simply see the journal date. Okay, the new bill was drawn on September 19, so you count 2 months from September 19, that is October 19, November 19, plus 3 days of grace, that is 20, 21, 22, that is November 22 will be the maturity date. So on the maturity date bill was met by Y, so bank account debit to bills receivable. This is in the book of X. Okay, in the book of X he received in bank from bill receivable rupees 51,900, and on that similar day, November 22, Y he made the payment, that is bills payable account to bank account rupees 51,900. Now with this we have covered all the topics of your bills of exchange. Now it's up to you whether you want to by heart all the journal transactions related with each case. It will be convenient for you. Okay, sometimes you might get confused, but practice makes a man better. So keep practicing and see you soon in the classrooms. Okay, so for this session we will wind up here. Thank you.